What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Friday, wrapping up another week, heading into a big-time football weekend. The Colts coming to town in Nissan Stadium against the Titans on Sunday at noon for a back-to-back home game for the two-tone blue. And we're already in week 3 and facing a very pivotal moment for this season and this franchise's future. I don't know if that off the top sounds like a super over sensationalized dramatic line.
Whoa, Austin.
But
whoa.
I think I'm right. I think there's a lot on this game.
Come on, man. Come on, it's week 3, man. Come on.
It is September 21st when they kick off. And I think this is the biggest week 3 game in the Titans history.
Wow.
How about that? Now that was a little bit dramatic.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to fact check that, but I feel like somebody should fact check that.
I mean, it's pretty big. I think this game is massive for
it's up there.
For the well-being of the fan base, for the well-being of me, for the well-being of Brian Callahan, for the well-being of the whole staff and Cam Ward and the rest of the team. I think this is a big moment, and we'll discuss why I think it's such a big moment, facing a pivotal, future-altering game versus the Colts, where the Titans are a home underdog again against the 2-0 Colts. We'll discuss all of that, and I'm just going to ask this is going to be a weird show. I always say it's an interesting show because I believe that. This is going to be a weird show because I don't read books. Shout out, I don't read books. I read articles.
Check,
and I listen to podcasts. I don't read books. But I know there are books that are like the choose your own adventure. Like if you want to follow path A, go to page 35. If you want to follow
a staple of the 80s.
Yes, those things, right? This is what that show is going to be. So I'm going to ask a couple what if questions. Easton, you're prepared for this. This is going to be wow. I think it's going to be a weird show, but I'm buckled up for it. And good news, we both have good updates from earlier in the week.
That's right. I think the ideal good news is updates on
Shade.
Complaining from Tuesday's Shade.
Update on complaints for good news before the weekend. So That's what we're here to do here. So Easton, welcome in. Let's get this thing off and rolling officially.
Yeah, I'm prepared for anything today. I stay prepared. I stay ready for any. You can't fool me on any Titans questions. I do too many radio hits with friends of mine that intentionally leave out preparatory questions to try to fool me on air. So I'm ready for whatever you have to throw at me, Austin. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be an exciting episode of the morning show. I see people are a little sleepy this morning, filing into the chat, filing into the waiting rooms here. So good morning to you all. Look alive, rise and shine, Buttercup, because we got a great one today. We're prepping you for a big weekend of football and talking about what Austin, is going to argue is the biggest week 3 game in the history of the something. So it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. We need you to like the show. Okay. Like the show on Facebook or on YouTube. Super easy, super free, super duper helpful to us. So like the show and then jump into the comments with some familiar faces already in here. Eric and Mario, Chase, Edward, Daniel, Chase pointing out, yes, indeed. The Land Shark Bar and Grill on a Sunday sounds fire downtown on Broadway. Looking forward to that. Really, really excited about spending our first Sunday there this Sunday. And what better opportunity obviously we'll be there all year, so you can come join us whenever and however many times you'd like. But what better week to start that than come join us on the introductory weekend? We're going to be bringing the juice. The Titans are going to be playing a really important game. So come on down, hang out with Austin and I there this weekend. Like the show, jump in the comments. Austin, let's start.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports here on a Friday, powered by BTA Sports. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Easton Freeze, our Titans reporter for A to Z Sports.com. And we're Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show, segment by segment, on our Twitter X timeline. You can follow us there at A to Z Sports. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more Titans coverage. 5-star Google reviews, if you please. That would be amazing. Gotta thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they help out all of you. Excuse me, Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon. Online, WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine care. Bartinger Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. Botero Carts, 2 locations for you, Columbia and Gallatin. Life is short, buy a golf cart. And Window Nation, buy 2 windows, you get 2 free, make no payments for 2 years at windownation.com. So absolutely, both of you guys in the chat, I want to give special shout outs. I love when the chat makes the promotions easier because Chase, as you've already showed, says Landshark Bar and Grill sounds like fire on Broadway. Yes, that is what we were doing on Sunday. It is at the Margaritaville bar location on 4th and Broadway. Parking is actually not bad at all. You can park on like 333 Commerce in the garage, like right behind it. So it's like on 4th and Broadway, and the Landshark Bar and Grill is on the 2nd floor. If there is a wall, it is filled with a TV screen.
Yes.
Guaranteed.
It is,
and also,
it is an A++ top shelf screen situation. We're not blowing smoke on this. It is as good as any sports bar screen situation I've ever seen in my entire life. Yep.
Also, speaking of top shelf, Traveler Whiskey, $7 for those on when any sport is being played. Traveler Whiskey, $7. And also, when any sport is being played, Miller Lite bucket specials as well. So, a $20 bucket for Miller Lite on Broadway. Yeah, sign me up right there. So that's right there. And then Daniel, again, you guys are making this easy, talking about the water taxi. Boom. If you want to get to downtown, but don't want to park downtown, and you want to float on the river, you can do that at the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com. 15-minute taxi ride, round trip for $20 to and from the stadium. They got different time slots all up and down the river right there. So the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com. So shout out to you guys for making life easier by doing that. So, all right, let's dive into this because that was positive. Good promotions. We've got really good partners this season that I'm pumped about. This season's sitting here at a pivotal moment. The Titans are 0-2. We all expected them to be 0-2, right? We know that. Yes. However, most of the fan base is not reacting like they expected to be 0-2. I feel like this fan base is teetering on as toxic as it's ever been.
It's up there. It's things aren't good. They sure aren't.
Yes. So this game against the Colts is huge because already so many people are at Brian Callahan for every little thing that goes wrong. Jared's burner says just the way they lost, right? Like that's absolutely true because you can go into a game. I go into every Tennessee Vols versus Florida game expecting the Tennessee Vols to lose, yet I'm still furiously pulling my hair out when they lose to Florida, even though that's what I expected. I get that, right?
Right. So, can we put a quick pin in that because it's like I understand where you're coming from when people are like, well, it's the way that they lost. But I just find it so funny when you go into 2 weeks where you're expecting them to lose, to get outclassed. You're expecting them to lose because in part you think the team is not good or is like really not. They need some time to get it to work.
Yeah.
Did you think the loss was going to be like painless? Were we all expecting? Well, they're gonna lose both games, but they're gonna look awesome in both losses.
Yeah.
How do losses tend to go?
I don't know. The
bad things tend to happen, and you tend to be frustrated.
Living off of was actually not bad at all. I'm cool with that one.
Yeah. My point is that generally speaking, losses aren't all rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. So what exactly were we thinking was going to happen?
For sure. And Vanessa teased me up again. Chat's doing my work for me. It says, we could have won last game with better play calling. That's the most like, okay. What examples, please? Like,
I disagree with her on that, but I think that's the point in a contradictory way. I think the reason people are more frustrated about these first 2 games, and my buddy Stoney Keeley said this on the F Words podcast last night. He actually, and he was like, I shouldn't say this because people are going to hate me for it, but I think there's some truth to this. He's like, I think the Titans looked slightly better in the first 2 games than I was expecting. Because he said my expectations were for them to get relatively blown out in both games, like not competitive in both games. And in both games, roughly around the time we were entering the fourth quarter, they were either winning like last week or firmly in the game with a chance to win. And that's better than I was expecting.
Down 1 score with the ball in the fourth quarter, both games.
And there is something more infuriating about that. The closer you get to winning, somehow the more upset we are with a loss. That it's just, again, that I think we can all understand how that is backwards on paper, but it is the reality.
Yeah. And so Vanessa, Titans started out strong. Absolutely. And to go to what Easton's point on the post-game show was, it felt like a college matchup. It felt like a Power Four, college football playoff contender facing a spicy, scrappy group of 6 lower school, and that came out strong and then ran out of gas in the fourth quarter, which happens all the time, right? Look at Texas games after the Ohio State game. That's what basically has happened. So
when you enter a game with a really thin margin for error,
yeah,
it's really hard to sustain success for 4 quarters.
right.
Because with that thin margin for error, one mistake, like, I don't know, missing a tackle on a 4th down that turns into a touchdown, or fumbling the ball and giving the Rams the ball on your 20-yard line. One mistake eliminates your margin for error because you're the worst team. That's how it works.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and ask this question. This is the most open-ended question I think I have ever asked in the history of this show, which we've been doing this show in this format with our company for 9 years. What if the Titans lose to the Colts to fall to 0-3? That's the question. What if? It's, again, we never do this, but that's how I want to do this show, because I've got my built-in like pivot points on where we're going to go with this. But I just want to know from you guys, what if they're 0-3 and they lose to the Colts? I'm going to let you guys take it from there. You can add extra context. You can add extra anything else. I see Jonathan, first comment just says, tear it down, tear it down. So what if the Titans lose to the Colts and fall to 0-3? That's what we're talking about here on a Friday morning. But let me tell you guys about what if you need help with your insurance policy. Probably everybody needs help with their insurance policy, unless you're an insurance broker and know what the heck you're doing. Barton Drury Insurance Group, that's where Zach and I turned to for our insurance help. And I know Easton's wearing his Barton Drury jersey today with the great color schemes here on the show. So BartonDrury.com is where to go. They're local and ready to help you with whatever insurance policy that you are wanting and needing in your life, whether it's you as an individual with health coverage. Maybe it's you and your family. Maybe you're looking to buy a home. You need home coverage. You need auto. You want to bundle these things together. You got a boat. You need boat coverage. They got you there. Whatever it looks like, 401k planning for your long term, surety bonds if you want to get strategy involved with all this. Barton Drury helps us out with our workers' comp and our employee benefits for our company, and they could not make it easier, because as Zach and I were navigating through the space, we're like, how do we even start looking at employee benefits? What's it going to cost for us? Is it going to be good coverage for our employees? All of these questions come up, and they make it so easy where I don't have to think about anything with our insurance policies until I get an email from Barton Drury and says, hey, by the way, we upped this for you. You're good. Sweet. Awesome. Thanks. BartonDrury.com is where to go.
We are powered by BTA Sports, better for bettors. A little side project of mine on Twitter. Been doing this little primetime props thing where I pick a couple props for each primetime game and just track the record on my Twitter account. And went 3-0 last night on the back of some BTA advice. So you got to check out BTA if you want to be a smarter, better like I am, like you all can be, with our link down in the description. Get a 14-day free trial for our analytical betting model of choice, our friends over at BTA Sports.
All right, what if the Titans lose the Colts to fall to 0-3? That's the most open-ended question I've ever asked on the show. I think, what if, Easton, I will send you the chat to see where people are taking it. What if the Titans are 0-3 Sunday evening and they lose to the Colts after losing to the Rams and the Broncos to kick off 2025 in the Cam Ward era? What do you see?
Yeah, I hate questions that we ask where it's like we get the same 2 answers over and over. This is not one of those. So we're going to be all over the board on this, and we might have to take some pit stops along the way. So feel free to stop me at any point here. Okay. Cap says nothing changes. Interesting. I'm sure we'll circle back to that. A step closer to the number 1 overall pick, says Ramon. Burning Devil, swinging the opposite direction. We riot as one word, like it's a millennial company. We riot, we work, something like that. I don't know what the deal is there, but he's gonna start it up. IR says I will not lose any sleep over it. Interesting. Tall Texan. At 0-3, you move on to the Texans in week 4. I'm seeing less outrage out of the gate. Well, we'll see if that holds by the end of the game if they actually lose. I'm going to bet against that. Still a lot of games left. People are really tepid about this.
It's the difference in Monday and Friday.
I know. Isn't it so like this?
Yeah.
This couldn't be less representative of what will actually happen if they lose, but it's still funny that we feel this way ahead of time. Jonathan, looking ahead to the trade deadline, everything but Cam Ward is for sale, either one.
Sale.
Rashid is going to protest outside of the stadium, like he's going to start a picket line, I guess.
Just make sure you bring your hard hat.
It's good points. Active construction zone out there. COVID Bat 19, crazy name. The fans grab their pitchforks. Man, I'm not burn the village. So I mean, it's the two camps are pretty clear. There is a contingency of folks that believe that it's just on to Houston on to week 4. And there are a group of folks that seem to think that it's time to riot. But as Eric says, a losing season is expected for at least him, and I'd imagine many of us. Lane, again, some folks are starting to resign themselves to the future building of trading for draft picks, looking to sell at the trade deadline. So yeah, I mean, I'll continue to. These are hard to sift through because these are some longer answers. But I'll continue to look.
I can look at a couple. Eric says they will be 0-3, and we move on to the next game, and hopefully see some improvement with each game. So that's a very measured, mature.
I like where you're at, Eric.
Season. Altamont, that's a fun name, man. Dude, 0-3 is not any more triggering than it should be. This is a 4-5 win team competing it with the win. I'm not sure how that ended, but I think, again, some of you guys are on the right page.
I think he means competing is the win.
Oh, competing.
Being competitive.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. So then, Joey, if they fall to 0-3, that's 3-17 for Callahan. There has been zero improvement in 20 games. You have invested a ton of money in numerous first rounders on the line, and they still suck. Coaching sucks. So here's what I want to pause, because this is what I was looking for.
Found it.
Because the thumbnail for the show today is very strategic, and the graphic as well. The thumbnail says, what if, and then the point of no return. And the graphic, I'm going to hide Joey's comment real quick, and surviving swords.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my opinion, Brian Callahan is, and I don't know, there could be a point to where 3-14 is no longer held against him. But right now, that's not the case for a lot of people. They are blending the two together. Where me, personally, like, I think I can look at individual things from 3-14 last year and say, okay, how does that change for the coaching staff in general from year 1 to year 2? But I'm not looking at win-loss record. I'm not holding 3-14. I'm not the one counting to 3-17. Or when they get to the Ken Wisenhunt number of 3-20 or 3-23. I think there's some confusion over that for whatever reason. But like, is he going to be the worst coach in Titans history? Can he last if has a worse record than Ken Wisenhunt? Well, Ken Wisenhunt was a jerk. Brian Callahan's not. So it was an easier fire to make in season when the guy was a complete total like loser in the building and made everybody's life miserable.
Have you ever had to fire somebody where you're like, I'm not going to feel too bad about this one?
No, because we don't hire people like that.
Okay. So then we're all just imagining what that would feel like. To
Every
be like,
time
oh, well, not going to lose sleep over this one.
Blows. It ruins my entire day before and after, and it sucks. So, but that's where the 3-17 is where we're wanting to get to. Because last year, yes, they invested a bunch of money. Rand Carthon, they checked every box. Will Levis is going to take strides. We're talking about 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions for Levis, that he could be eyeing a $50+ million contract in the summer of 26. Like, we were having these conversations pre-Bears game. Then it just, at halftime of the Bears game, up 17-0. Here we go. Buckle up. Let's go. It's awesome. And then it fell apart and it continued to get worse. There was a reset. Like, the Titans hit a reset button when they fired Rand Carthon and moved on from Will Levis as the quarterback. The Titans did. Some of the fans did not. And that's where there is a point of no return for Brian Callahan. And I don't know what that is right now because nobody's playing on the same level here. Like nobody's grading on the same scorecard of how are you evaluating this team and how much is last season's suck involved in that? Because guys, the plan for this season was to not make the playoffs.
Yes.
And I think people have to understand that. The plan was to circle around Cam Ward and start building a foundation with first and second year players. And I think we see that plan in action. But they're not going to win a lot of games right now.
I'd like to explore this idea of the point of no return, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that we're talking about what is the record or what is the point in the year where Callahan is pre-fired. Is that basically what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay. I know you just said that you don't know what that is. So if you just literally have no thoughts on it, that's fine.
Well, no,
I have some thoughts on it.
Like Eric says, not make the playoffs. LMAO, that's a lame ass franchise. No, that's just the reality of where they are. Like I think you can be blind and ignorant to what your situation is, and you look at the Nashville Predators who tried to hang on to that big run pre-COVID. They tried to hang on to everything about that
for a half decade
for way too long. And now they're irrelevant in this market.
Hey. Training camp opened yesterday. Not irrelevant. I saw it everywhere.
Okay. Everywhere. Yes. But they don't move the needle one iota. And so and that's because they had too many bad years in a row. The Titans should have done this a year ago. Lorraine Carthon had a bunch of money to spend. You got to spend it somehow. And they marketed it to not a rebuild. They marketed it to a rebranding. And look at all these weapons. Look at all this money we spent. We're about to go do this thing, checking all the boxes. And they failed miserably at that. So now they have to live with that and understand the reality where they are.
Let's also be clear that nobody is not trying to make the playoffs. It's not that they are. That's not what it is, obviously.
Yeah, this is the disconnect between what the franchise versus the team. The players are trying to win every rep.
Right. Well, but even the team isn't hoping for no playoffs, right? The difference when we say that the plan was no playoffs, obviously what we're saying, and apparently this isn't clear in the comments, is that they would be surprised if they managed to get into the playoffs, pleasantly surprised. They would be entirely unsurprised if they fell very short of the playoffs.
I'll use one example. If the expectation and the plan was they had to make the playoffs this year, Van Jefferson is not the free agent wide receiver that is signed in the month of March. Right? Those things, Brandon Allen is not the quarterback signed in March. Right?
Draymond Jones is not your biggest edge addition either.
What they did in the month of March tells you that they had the number one pick. They had a start over spot. They wanted players who they could throw out there and compete, but also give them flexibility to build around younger, more talented guys instead of being stuck with bad contracts.
I have a bunch of thoughts on this idea of what if they lose. Number one is that
hold on.
We got a sponsorship to tell you all about, and then I'm going to give you a bunch of stuff.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys about Window Nation, because what do I have coming up later today is I have Window Nation coming to my house at 1:00 for a free estimate, because they have their best deal of the entire year going on this month. You have less than 2 weeks to take advantage of this. You go to windownation.com. You click the button for a free estimate, type in your simple info, because it's buy 2 windows, get 2 windows free, and you don't have to make a single payment, no dollar out of your pocket if you don't need to or want to for 2 years. So you talk about all this new stadium stuff for the Titans that's coming up. You would have new windows in your home if you act on this deal this month, and you don't have to pay anything until they are playing games in that new stadium. So we've got that coming to our house today. I'm excited about that. We've been in this house for almost 2 years. We've had new windows on the long-term plan list because we got the builder grade windows here. We want to upgrade aesthetics and performance for our AC, for electric and heating bills and gas, all that stuff to save money, to be more efficient, and to just look better. So windownation.com, they've got all of that. Windownation.com, buy 2 windows, get 2 windows free, 0 payments, no interest, no down payment, no monthly payments for up to 2 years in 2027. So this month only at windownation.com.
BTA Sports, dominating the game. Better for bettors. Check them out with our link in the description below. Click that link. You'll get a free 14-day free trial. Double free. They're going to hook you up with all of the information you need to win your bets over the weekend. Got a bunch of big football games coming up. Going to be leaning hard on BTA Sports this weekend. You should too. Check them out. Better for bettors at BTA Sports.
All right. So you have thoughts because we asked the question. I kind of asked the question.
You know me,
what if the Titans lose to the Colts to fall to 0-3? And it says open it as that. And you start off with 1. Go ahead.
Number 1. I understand the whole, this is like a very big week 3. It's like I feel all of the things that you're feeling, all the things that the fan base is feeling in terms of the pressure this weekend. I just want to point out from a broader perspective point that I think every NFL team in the history of the league has felt generally what everybody is feeling when you start 0-2. Like every 0-2 team around the league is feeling the same thing because there's just a big difference between. It's like if you ever employed the martingale system at a casino where it's like you're supposed to double down, then double down, double down. Eventually, you'll break even if you do that, and it's a way to make money. That all makes sense on paper, and then when you're in the heat of the moment, every double down gets significantly more nervy than the last because it's like, well, if you lose this week, then the pressure's doubled next week, and then if we lose next week, then it feels like the pressure's doubled again. You got to get on the board. You got to get on the board, right? And so I get it. That's the feeling. And going from 0-1 to 0-2. From 0-2 to 0-3 and 0-3 to 0-4, it really does feel like it's kind of doubled in that way. I want to talk about the point of no return thing because you and I were kind of talking about this before the show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying the Titans don't need this win badly. They do. The coaching staff needs it. The players need it. Like they feel like they need it. I think in a lot of ways, what you saw from the Dolphins last night in primetime is a similar spot to what you're going to see from the Titans, where you kind of just knew coming into that game the Dolphins were going to empty the tank a little bit. They were going to, I mean, I felt this way at least, that it's like, this is a divisional game. You got the divisional voodoo thing going on. This is a Dolphins team that narratively feels like it's on the brink. We got people feeling like they're, performing for their jobs a little bit. Yeah. And they played a lot better than, Vegas was expecting the Bills to win by 2 touchdowns, and it was a tight game to the end. And it took a bad interception to not potentially be an overtime or a Dolphins win.
It was kind of like both games the Titans have played.
Yeah, agreed. I think that there's a lot of parallels to that divisional spot for an 0-2 team and what the Titans as an 0-2 team in a divisional spot this weekend are probably going to look like. They need to show the heart that the Dolphins showed last night. Now, to your point, the Dolphins looked far more incompetent, lost in the locker room. Like they looked like much more of a mess in the first 2 weeks than the Titans did. That's, I think, a fact.
And the Dolphins have way different expectations.
Yeah, they're at a totally different point of their team building, 100%.
Yes.
So all of that makes for a totally different narrative situation. But I think you generally see what I'm saying about how this is a spot where teams show out and show up. That's not to say that I think, the Titans are going to come in and they're going to win the game. We'll get to that eventually. I think it's going to. I think the Colts are favored on the road for good reason in this game. But this point of no return, I think that we need this more than the Titans do, in a way. By we, I mean you and me, like in the media, for the attention spans of the people watching this show. We need it. And if they go to 0-3, so to answer the question, what if they go to 0-3? A lot of the commenters who I look forward with great expectation to seeing the same energy, the same sentiment from them Sunday afternoon in the post-game show, and then Monday morning in the Monday morning show. This idea that, well, they're 0-3. You know, we were expecting them to be a bad team. It's not about the wins this year. We move on to, like, that's how I feel, because it's what they spent all offseason telling me. And so to me, this is not an Easton cope, Easton defend whoever, Easton what, like, sunshine and optimism take. This is an Easton is holding the Titans to their own words and saying either this is true and we move, or you all were liars. That's the reality to me, because they spent all offseason talking to us about how, the number of quotes in ESPN and at A to Z Sports and at Fox from executives and coaches alike with this team saying explicitly, it is not about the wins this year. We're not going to commit to, we need to see this number of wins. We're not going to commit to, like, that's not what it's about. It is about progress. It is about rebuilding the rubble of this roster. And it is about, above all else, setting Cam Ward up to propel this team into a brighter future.
Yeah.
It's a launch pad year. They said that. They more than once was the example of Dan Campbell's first year with the Lions brought up to me of, hey, by the way, I went and looked at this to make sure I had this right before the episode. That team started 0-10-1 before they got their first win, right? It was, I guess, that was late November, early December when they finally got on the board with the win. They finally beat the Vikings in a divisional game on December 5th, a 29-27 barn burner. And in those first 11 games where they didn't get a single win, there were some tight ones where they were within a point or two, took some good teams to the wire. There were also some times like when they played the Packers and the Packers doubled their score. When they played the Bengals and the Bengals tripled their score. There were some ugly ones in there. The Eagles, 44-6, a disaster loss right before the bye to fall to 0-8. That was a team that I think we all remember looking back on it, especially based on the way that they finished the game. We tend to remember the last thing, or finished the season. They finish with a big win over the Green Bay Packers. They score 37 points and get a divisional win to end the year. They end up with 3 wins in their final 7 games. And all year long, even throughout the blowouts and the tough times, they were a team that had heart and were scrappy and were competitive in a lot of the games, even when they maybe should not have been. And that was an example that was used for this Titans team. Not to say that everybody's like, well, this team's going to go 13-1 or whatever that team went, and that's going to be okay. No. But that general rebuilding year looks uglier than it is launch pad year before exploding the next season, because then the Lions, I believe, had a winning record the next year and were, that's when they became what we kind of know them as today.
They missed the playoffs, but they still beat the Packers to keep the Packers out of the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers
in the primetime final game of the year, 100%. That was the message sent. And so what is the point of no return for Brian Callahan? January 8th or whatever the first day of the offseason is. Because I don't think, I said it before the season, and so I'm going to stick to my guns here just because they're 0-2, even though we expected them to be 0-2. I don't think there is something that can go wrong outside of true incompetence that I've not seen yet that can happen this year that will make them can him mid-season. And so that means he has until the end of the year to demonstrate. This team has until the end of the year to demonstrate a trend up, to demonstrate true growth from Cam Ward, true growth from all the rookies, right? We've already seen development from the receiver rookies. We're looking forward to seeing more from the tight end on the defensive side of the ball. I'd pay attention to the back half of the season to see more from Kevin Winston and Femi Oladejo. Like, can those guys start to come along and get hot at the end of the year? What does the end look like? That to me is the point of no return. And again, that's probably going to come across to a number of people in the comments like, well, Easton's coping. Easton's way too patient. Easton's way too optimistic.
Well,
no, Easton is trying to hold the franchise to their own words. Because if I'm wrong about what I'm saying right now, they are liars.
Right. So I'm going to, I don't know why your camera's fuzzy, but your audio has been fine, but your camera's fuzzy.
Well, maybe it'll just fix itself. I don't know.
That's what I've been hoping for. But Garrett says, dude, we hear what you're saying, Easton, but most penalized team in the league, getting terrorized on the ground, and that's supposed to be a strength. We were sold improvements. And then you're cut up. That cuts off. Like, the most penalized in the team, yes. They've got bad players. bad. Or so I think that, and I was thinking about this while I was listening to you and JT yesterday talking about the reasons why you can't finish and why the Titans can't finish games. The Titans have, every team has an assortment of elite / very good to average to below average to bad player, right? I don't know if there's 6 or 7 different categories of level of player in the NFL, right? The Titans have way more average players than I think most teams have. They have less good and above players than most teams have, and they probably have more average and more bad players than most teams have.
Yes.
Average players can make plays, but also 2 quarters later do something really stupid and hurt you. Like Jarvis Brownlee Jr., because he's just a second-year guy, I think is an average player. He shows good things, but he does something dumb and he hurts his team with a penalty or whatever. So like Dan Moore right now is an average player. He's fine until he's awful. Like then you have John Njoku, who's a flat-out bad player. And so those 2 guys get penalties. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. gets penalties because they're inconsistent. And so I think that's why you're the most penalized team in the league, is because you have too many average and too many bad players, not enough good and above players.
Yeah, and I mean we've talked about this. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I think that the type of penalty is important when we're trying to assign blame to the coaching staff or the players, and when the majority of the penalties are coming not pre-snap, when the majority of the penalties are coming from younger players or bad players who are prone to making mistakes or are just being beaten and have to cheat and are getting caught cheating because they're getting beaten. That's not really a reflection on the coaching staff to me. And it's also like, I get that it's infuriating, but it is also just true. I don't know what to tell you. This is a fact. Penalty discipline is not and has not ever been reflective or predictive of good or bad teams. Every single year you pull up the penalty chart at the end of the year, and it is a cornucopia of good and bad teams alike at the top. Last year, it was the Titans and the Ravens at the top of this list. How different 2 teams could possibly be. The Ravens, the best regular season team in the entire league last year. The Titans, the worst regular season team in the entire league last year. Those were your penalty leaders. So I'm not saying that the penalties are good or acceptable, but are they a reflection of a big change being needed? Historically speaking, no, they are not.
I'm about to get something great. This is a perfect example from a comment of what you just said. What is the most improved aspect of this Titans team through 2 games? Special teams, right? Daniel, 6 penalties were on special teams. Should they fire Fossil? No, because it's the most improved unit on the entire team.
Correct.
But they have 6 penalties, 3 of which I think are on James Williams, who is one guy who's a young guy figuring it out. James Williams is a 5-star athlete coming out of high school, went to Miami as a safety, never played special teams, never had to because he was the dude. Mm-hmm. And so now he's figuring it out. He's got 3 special teams penalties in 2 games. So
it's also interesting to me that like 5 or 6 of these penalties have come from the defense, specifically Jeff Simmons and Jarvis Brownlee Jr. And Denard Wilson doesn't get any of that heat, right? It's a Brian Callahan heat thing.
Totally.
And it's interesting how every time
Snead has a couple
interesting, it's like, oh, Denard Wilson, look at what he's schemed up here.
Draymond Jones lining up off sides, right? It's a Callahan problem. So that's all right. So that's what I want to get to next. So perfect. So I haven't answered the what if question yet. We're like 40 minutes into the show, almost 30 minutes after I asked it. So what if the Titans are 0-3? I will get to my answer about Brian Callahan and his press conferences come into play with this. So this create your own novel is going exactly how I hoped it would. But first, Easton, tell everybody about our friends at Botero Carts.
Botero Carts, life is short. Buy a golf cart. It's easy. It's simple. And Botero Carts is the place that you got to do it here in Middle Tennessee. 2 locations to serve you, Columbia and Gallatin. So check out whichever one is closer to you. They've got great financial options for anybody really in any phase of life looking to get a golf cart. You can finance for up to 36 months if you'd like for 0%. So they're not going to nickel and dime you for the first 3 years. Their carts start at just $6,700. They're open every day of the week with full service sales and rental capacity at their dealerships, locally owned and operated. So support a local business at Botero Carts. No dealer fee, no credit card fees, no credit option needed. Life is short. Buy a golf cart and do it with our friends at Botero Carts.
BTA Sports, that's what the show's powered by. I opened up my BTA Sports app this morning just to check to see if they still thought the same thing about the Titans-Colts game, and they do. They thought the Broncos would win by 8. They thought the Rams would win by 11. They've been pretty close. What does BTA think about this Titans-Colts game? I'll let you find out. You can download the BTA Sports app. Use the link in the show descriptions on Facebook and YouTube. Use our code ATOZ. You get a 14-day free trial and a $99 season pass for the NFL with BTA Sports. Better for bettors, better for fantasy football players as well. Use the analytics there with BTA Sports. Link in the show title and description. So, what if the Titans fall to 0-3? And where is the point of no return with Brian Callahan as the head coach? Surviving Swords is on the graphic right here. And I think 0-3 means Brian Callahan falls on at least one more sword. Because right now, Brian Callahan is enemy number one. Public enemy number one from this fan base. Everything is his fault. He's going to ruin Cam. I've seen so many, like Devin. I understand wanting continuity for Cam, but I think Callie is doing more harm than good. Why let him sink the ship this year? We don't know that. It's impossible to know that. The film tells you otherwise. The film tells you that Brian Callahan has created open targets to throw to. Cam hasn't truly hit them consistently yet. Why? Because he's played 2 games, right? So with Brian Callahan, he's falling on that sword, right? He's already done that. Cam's got control to change the play at the line of scrimmage. And yet Vanessa and a lot of others with Vanessa, we would have won the game if play calling was better. Well, how do you know if Cam checked in or out of the right play call or not, or the wrong play call that Brian Callahan has given him the authority to because he wants Cam to grow? So Brian Callahan's falling on swords. Going back to the Alec I am in our elbow thing. Brian Callahan fell on a sword there, right? No doubt about that. The defensive penalties, not Denard Wilson falling on that sword, it's Brian Callahan. So if they're on 0-3, there's another sword that I don't know what or what it has to do with, but that's going to hit Brian Callahan right in the gut. And at some point, that's too many. And I don't know. And what is that? Is that, because guess what? If you're 0-3, guess who else is a underdog at 0-2 this week? The Texans at the Jags. Where do you go? At the Texans next week. If you're 0-3 and you go to the Texans who are struggling and now you're 0-4 and you go out to the West Coast, there was a previous fired Titans coach who had their fate sealed by a West Coast trip.
In like week 13, but still.
But the fate was sealed. He didn't get fired until months later.
Correct.
Right? But the writing was on the wall. That's what I'm saying here. I don't think Brian Callahan's getting fired mid-season.
That fate was also sealed for something that didn't have to do with losing.
Yeah, for sure. But I think but the writing, but it had to deal with a young quarterback who showed promise.
Sure.
It did. And so in maximizing that quarterback, Brian Callahan, I highly doubt. It would be a major upset if he does not finish the season as the head coach, because there is no alternative to be the interim coach right now for Cam Ward that's going to be any better. So it's how many swords can Brian Callahan fall on, where internally the people that he has taken the swords for know that. The locker room knows that.
The owner knows that.
The owner knows that. Everybody knows that that's inside that organization. And what does that do? If your boss takes a sword for you publicly, that means something to you. Mm-hmm. And so for everybody saying he's lost the locker room, think about what that means if Brian Callahan's falling on a sword for you. You are not going to be dismissive of that guy. You respect him a little bit because you know the heat he's taking. And so, but at some point, if people continue to stop showing up downtown to the 8 more home games they have, and they stop caring, at some point, there is a point of no return where it's too many swords, the public's too checked out, and you got to do something, and it's going to be celebrated if you do it, right? I think there's something there.
I like to be evidence-based. I try to operate in an evidentiary way when it comes to making my arguments. And something that always rubs me the wrong way, maybe the best way to put it, is when people say, "Oh, you know what? I think that so and so's lost the locker room," or "I think so." I think these players don't. I don't think they're really receiving this message. I don't think they're really respecting this thing that they're being taught or this thing that they're being told. I think that so and so actually dislikes so. Like when it comes to making off-field assessments in that vein, I think that you can do it, but you need proof. And so like already this season, we have seen examples of like, I think he's losing the locker room, man. What makes you think that? Right?
Penalties.
Right.
Losing games late.
Yeah, those are bad reasons.
Yeah.
Those are bad reasons.
I agree.
Because when these things happen and coaches do lose locker rooms, players do tune coaches out. Players do get frustrated with each other or with their coaching staff. There are signs. If you pay attention, they're not hard to see. Last night, after the Dolphins lost to the Bills, they fell to 0-3 in a valiant effort, but 0-3 nonetheless. You saw after the game, Mike McDaniel asked about the way that the game ended with the Tua interception when they were driving to try to level the game and potentially get to overtime. And we've had Brian Callahan asked about some Cam Ward things that were not his finest moments. We've had Brian Callahan asked about some things that he, Austin, you and I know he could have thrown somebody under the bus for, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Last night at Mike McDaniel's press conference, I'm paraphrasing here, so I'm going to take him out of context, but he approximately said that I think the quarterback has to wear that one. That interception, it's kind of on the quarterback. There's a sign, right? That's the kind of thing where you hear that, and if you know how it goes, your ears perk up. You go, okay, let's file that away as a something for later. Like that's.
I think there's a difference. I think especially with an offensive head coach and a veteran quarterback, I think there's a relation, and we've seen the Mike McDaniel Tua relationship is tight. That can happen. I think that's fine.
I'm not saying it is proof positive of things falling apart, but when a team is 0-3 and a coach is asked a question, and again, I wish I had written this down or we had clipped it, because the question set him up to easily do the coach speak thing of like, well, we made a lot of mistakes other than that, and we needed to, just kind of spread the blame around, take the blame yourself. Like I could have had a better play call there. That avenue was available to him, and he chose to say, "Man, that's on the quarterback." Now that could just be one. I'm not. You're not hearing me, Austin. You're not hearing me. Okay, well then you're just derailing my point for the sake of derailing it, I guess, because my point is valid. That when that kind of thing happens, those are the signs you're looking for. That are not on their own are proof positive something happened, but that's the kind of thing that starts to happen when a team gets tight and people start to go into self-preservation mode. And my point here is that Brian Callahan continues to fall on these swords. That is indicative to me of a guy that maybe he's just wrong about this and he's dumb about it. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but it's indicative of a guy that thinks that it's his job to do so, and he can do so without risk of being fired at least until the end of the season, right? Mm-hmm. Because no matter how good a guy you are, no matter how noble a person you are, as well, it's the head coach's job to fall on the swords and take the blame. Mike McDaniel is not a guy that has a history of blaming people to try to save his own skin. Like he's a good coach speak coach. He's a funny coach speak coach. When people start to do that kind of thing, those are the signs. When people in the locker room during the week start to throw little jabs, little kind of like raising some questions about decisions or the coaching, that kind of thing starts to happen before a team loses the locker room. Every time a locker room has been lost, you can go back in time and go back to the people on that beat and play their videos and be like, oh, well, that there was a sign and there was a sign. There aren't those signs yet from the Titans coaching staff, from the Titans players. That's the reason why. And once those signs start to crop up, if they start to crop up, I promise we'll be talking about them. We'll be playing the clips. We'll be analyzing every word. But they don't exist yet.
Yeah. Ray Skull says Brian has yet to fully throw anyone under the bus than Will Levis. And he did that when?
At the very, very, very end.
In the off, like after the season was over. It was
Yes.
just the very beginning of the offseason. It was a transition from season to offseason. And so I think if this was year three, Brian Callahan, in response to the not challenging and not having the elbow rule correct, probably says, our process upstairs has to be better.
Maybe.
That's kind of what I think. But year two, Brian Callahan, he's I'll take it. It's my fault. I hired you. I put you in that situation. I should make sure you're better. But that's what I'm saying, right?
But you hear what I'm saying, that
totally.
that guy who continues to do that is one of two things. Either he is the most unself-aware person of all time and is walking himself to the electric chair to lose his job,
Yes.
or he's somebody that has reason to believe that he can do this and be the responsible coach guy and not risk his employment. Yet.
Totally. He either has a leash that he can use, or he's just has too good of morals to a fault.
Right. That's what it is.
And I think Brian
It's either indicative of a leash or indicative of a moron. It's one of the two.
Yeah.
And I know which one I think is more likely.
Right. And I think with Callahan, he is also more transparent in press conferences than most football coaches, which at times when you're a bad football team and you're being more transparent, it makes you look more incompetent because you're saying more things that sound like excuses. If you're less transparent, you say less things, which doesn't just air out excuse possibilities.
Yes.
And I think that's what he's gotten himself into, is that he is a very open person. And that's hurting him because they're a bad football team. If they were a good football team and he was open, then I think people would be soaking up because you'd be like, oh, this is a great insight. Like Mike McDaniel is not an open person in press conferences. He's pretty quick. When the Dolphins were really good and he was like the hot topic around the league, if he was as transparent as Callahan, like, man, look at this insight into Mike McDaniel's brain. It's pretty interesting, right? But it's not, but he was close.
I kind of completely disagree with you on that.
Really?
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because I've heard this exact sentiment from Titans PR in the last couple of weeks when we inside baseball, like we butt heads about how long something's going to be in certain axes, and it's just that it's the nature of it. And I think that Callahan's openness, I mean, Daniel kind of summarizes my sentiment here, that when coaches are losing and they don't talk about why, they aren't willing to explain things, they sound more incompetent. And the last 2 weeks of losses, I think throughout the week, as Callahan has explained more things, it has softened the pitchforkiness of the loss.
I guess it depends on who you're talking about. Who is receiving the message? Because I'm not talking about the media.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about the fan who understands the situation. I'm talking more about the pitchfork, the guy who is most prone to get the pitchfork out, because that portion of the fan base that is the quick reactive portion of the fan base, and every fan base has them. That person views the openness as excuse making.
But isn't that person always going to be mad no matter what the coach says?
Probably.
Isn't that person going to, if the coach is reserved and not explaining things away,
they're going to
be furious that they're not explaining? So, like, isn't that person always going to be contradictory?
Hanging on every word and saying, you said this, but then you didn't do this. Like, yeah.
Right. So that person is really not even in play here when it comes to should you or should you not.
But that person also is invested enough to listen to press conferences. I mean, they're invested enough to probably spend money on tickets, to spend money on things, to be involved. Yes. And somebody earlier in the show, I think it was Garrett, said something like, who cares about the locker room? He's lost the paying customer. And like, because I think the paying customer, I think that the public matters this season for Amy, because I think if it didn't matter, then Brian Callahan's not going to get fired this year.
Sure.
But at some point, if it's 0-3, and then it could be 0-4 to her hometown Houston Texans that she despises more than anything, and then you're just a couple of weeks away from Vrabel coming to town, Now you're saying there's the point of no return because of the swords that Brian Callahan keeps having to fall on because they were a planned bad football team in 2025.
Well, and to put a bow on this, I think, or maybe I should say I hope, that the people in charge of Brian Callahan's employment in the building, the executives, and of course Amy, have the perspective to realize when it comes to having lost the paying customer is angry at Brian Callahan right now because it's the lazy and convenient thing to do. This is just sports psychology 101, right? No matter what, forever and always, fan bases are going to be naturally, subconsciously inclined to blame the coaching first and the playing second, because it is so much easier. It is so much harder to actually prove. And most importantly, the prospect of, well, your coach is bad is a much easier pill to swallow than, well, your team is bad. Because a coach, you can go to the store right now and pick out a new one. With a bad team, everybody knows that that's a hard problem to fix, and that takes time.
I mean, just think about it. Like, fans aren't in the stands wearing coaches' jerseys.
Right.
They have players' names on their
Also
back.
A good point. Also a good point.
You are fans of the players. The coach is the enemy. Because
I realize, yes, that's a great point to that end. I realized that I just got myself off track and didn't even make my original point. My original point was that I would hope, I think that the people in charge have the perspective and the foresight to realize that, yes, we may have lost the paying customer right now, and the paying customer may believe that it's primarily a Brian Callahan thing that's been lost. Like, you just swap him out. But hopefully they realize that, okay, fine, fire Brian Callahan right now, 9:09 a.m. Central Standard Time, time of death, Brian Callahan. Then what? Because whoever you choose as the interim, whoever you go out and hire midseason, which isn't a thing that would happen, it's happened. It doesn't ever go well. Let's put it that way. It doesn't ever go well. That's not going to change that this roster needs time and work and it's bad in some important spots, right? Denard Wilson, interim head coach, Bones Fossil, interim head coach, is not changing the fact that this team's going to struggle and lose a lot of games this year. It's not. So what's the paying customer doing then? Well, we'll pay now. We'll show up now because at least Callahan's gone. No.
I had something just hit me. I think this is the strongest reason why Brian Callahan is safe this year. And it just hit me. And I don't think we've talked about this at all.
Is this a show topic that you need to say?
No, it's short, it's quick. It's something you can write about this afternoon if you feel like it. But I will tell you what this thing that I just had an epiphany of like, this is why Brian, like the best evidence of Brian Callahan's job is safe for 2025, no matter what. I'm about to tell you guys in a second, but first, Easton's going to talk about the Bone and Joint Institute.
Oh, yes. Our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute, we appreciate them. And they are the spot in Middle Tennessee. If you are hurt, what kind of injury you might ask? Any of them, any injury, you can check out our friends at boneandjointtn.org because they are the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust. We trust Bone and Joint. And they are located in Franklin with over a dozen specialists who can help you through any type of injury, state-of-the-art rehab facility on campus, helping you recover through anything. They can do everything under that one roof right off the interstate. They have a clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, and rehab. Schedule an appointment today. Go to boneandjointtn.org.
BTA Sports, download the app. The link to do that is in our Facebook title and in the YouTube description. You can click on that link, download the app. You get a 14-day free trial for a $99 season-long pass with the code ATOZ. If you're on Apple, you don't have to use the code ATOZ. Just use the link. If you're on Android, you might need the link and the code ATOZ. But a 14-day free trial and a $99 subscription for the rest of the season that includes the playoffs and beyond. They got you right there. So do that because that also ends after September. Then our deal switches to a different situation. But the season pass thing, the 14-day free trial and the season pass, only this month. So again, 14 days. I've already won my money back.
Get on it.
I've already done it. And it's been 2 weeks, which is 14 days. So I've already won my money back. So it's a great opportunity for you guys with BTA Sports, better for bettors and fantasy football players. All right. So Easton, talk about the leash. I think here's proof that Brian Callahan had leash because I'm going to ask you this question. Who on the coaching staff is most equipped to be the interim head coach for Cam Ward?
For Cam Ward,
Yeah.
kind of an off the board pick, but if it's a Cam Ward oriented pick, I would say Mike McCoy.
Bingo. That's it. Who was just hired 6.5 months ago? Mike
McCoy. Yeah.
Yeah. Former Chargers head coach, offensive guy, senior offensive assistant, 53 years old, got tons of experience. He played in the NFL for a bit, played a lot of football in his life, coached a lot of football in his life. Mike McCoy was hired. Coaches who have job security issues never, ever, ever hire their interim replacement going into a season where they're on the hot seat. Never.
That's a good point.
That is suicide. That is crazy.
You're right. That's and it's funny because I mean, if we ran we don't have to, but if we ran a YouTube poll right now, it's too late to do it because we've already talked about McCoy. If you'd have done it before we talked about this, who should be? I mean, the majority would be. I think people really like Bones Fossil because he's a good speaker, and that's kind of like the main reason he's running the most competent unit on the team. So it's like, yeah, I think
he's a candidate. He would be a candidate.
He is a candidate. I also think if he's a guy that 20 years ago probably would have been a very hot head coaching candidate in general, because he's just that kind of guy. I think he's kind of a vestige of an NFL time gone by, but he could have done a very good job with it. Denard Wilson continues to kind of have some plot armor with the fan base, and so he's somebody that would be a candidate. I know who wouldn't be a candidate. Our good friend Nick Holtz. Nobody would be talking about it. I think some people would maybe talk about, well, just make the quarterback coach the head coach. Why not?
I agree.
For Cam, I think some people would talk about it. I don't think it'd be a good idea.
It's because of Cam Ward. It's
Correct.
Who is the interim, and it's Mike McCoy.
Yes, and he is somebody that has been integral to what the Titans are doing. To Brian Callahan, Brian Callahan, if today I went and asked him for just tell me about Mike McCoy and what it's been like having him in the building for the last 6 months, he would rant and rave about him. I know that it's from the outside looking in, it's like, okay, well, what does he do? Like, what is it? Is he just like an advisor? Is he what exactly is he helping with? But to your point, he is that guy who's like the wise old sage advice sounding board for a head coach and for an operation generally. And he would be the obvious pick, I think, internally for an interim situation, because they know that from a logistical standpoint, at least, the guy's done it. He can do it. We won't be turned into a total laughingstock if Mike McCoy takes over.
And you know what else? You know how it's like if one offensive lineman gets hurt, it's like, well, just move JC over. If Dan Moore goes down, move JC over to the left side, and then you have somebody else play right tackle. And then if you need Blake Hance to play right, you're moving too many things. If
right,
Mike
who becomes DC if Denard Wilson's
exactly. If Mike McCoy is the interim, he's the best option for interim coach. Nobody else has to move.
Yeah.
So again, why I think Brian Callahan is going nowhere the end season is because he just hired the best option for his interim. And that's not what hot seat coaches do.
It kind of goes hand in glove with the whole falling on swords thing, because it's the kind of thing that you either do if you're a moron or you do because you have a leash. That's what it is.
Amber, quick question. Why don't we try Dan Moore right tackle? Because he's never played right tackle in the NFL.
Yeah.
And JC Latham played 3 years of right tackle in college.
So, right. And then again, more importantly, then who plays right tackle or left tackle? I mean,
yeah. JC.
Yeah. Oh, they mean when JC's healthy again? Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
when JC's healthy again, his hip's a problem. Anyway, King VC, lock in, like the show. I will be on the Nashville water taxi if anybody uses it. King VC's going to be there. NashvilleWaterTaxi.com. The NashvilleWaterTaxi.com. That'd be fun. So we're also going to be, just one more time before we get to good news, we're going to be live for our pregame, halftime, and postgame Titan Game Day live at Margaritaville Bar on 4th and Broadway, the second floor, which is the Landshark Bar and Grill. If there is a wall, it is covered with a television screen. The Titans game sound will be on and loud. Easton and I will be on the stage for our pregame, halftime, postgame. There will be drink specials. Shout out to Traveler Whiskey and Miller Lite. whenever a sport is on the TVs there, which is basically nonstop at this point, especially when Maction comes into play on Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights coming up. You'll have football every day of the week. But shout out to Margaritaville Bar and the Land Shark Bar and Grill, second floor. We'll see the guys there on Sunday. Any other last thoughts before we go to good news? Because you and I both have shade updates for good news. Any other last thoughts before good news?
No, let's do good news.
All right, good news. If you have good news in the chat, share it. We want to hear it before a good weekend. Shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. You can see them in Lebanon help save money on your new ride. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. They'll help you out financially, whatever you're needing. They've got you covered online. Wilson County Hyundai. Good news in the chat. Let's see what we see. Jeff said he has a big good news.
Oh.
And here it is. Great news. In Fort Pierce, because my uncle had double bypass surgery, had to shock his heart back into rhythm yesterday, but the doctors are saying he's getting better slowly. That is great news.
Thank God.
Shout out to Jeff's uncle, excuse me. And Jeff, you had a tough shade that you got laid off early in the week. So I'm glad that you get to end your tough week that had, obviously a scary situation happen in the middle of it, coming out on the right end of that. So good news. Abdul says, my 1-year-old cleft palate repair was flawless. That's awesome.
Thank God again. That's great
Big
news.
deal right there. Eric says, good news. The Bussin' Bowl is tomorrow. Go Big Red.
That'll be a fun one, right?
This is I want to bet this game, but I don't know how to.
Yeah, I'm just excited to watch it. I don't have nothing jumps out to me immediately. I just think it's going to be a really good game.
Bryce Underwood, like the $10 million man versus Patrick Mahomes light, is something that I'm interested in, and I don't know what to expect because I believe Nebraska's favorited by 2 or 1.5, 2.5, something like that. Michigan coined 2 Nebraska. So
yeah, I know that it's it's supposed to be a tight game.
For sure. All right. More good news. Ray Glassing is King VC and A to Z plant in the chat. No, he is not. I've never met King VC. I only know King VC from these show chats. Donald, my good news is that I won my appeal and got back pay from my old job. How about that? That's solid. Matt says, going to take my daughter to her first Ohio State game got to take my daughter to her first Ohio State game last week. Love that she now has a love for college football. That's fun. And then Daniel says, good news. My Ducks going to destroy Oregon State Beavers this weekend. Yeah. If there's a 30+ point spread that you think the favorite's going to cover, it's that one. Oregon minus 35.5, I believe, which is a bad number because it's that 5 touchdown and a half hook. And then Devin says, good news. My ex-wife is still my ex-wife. So good job, Devin, if that's what you want to go with. I'll go with my good news first, and then I'll let you finish your good news. On Tuesday, I threw shade that I was a haircut free agent for the first time in 5 years and how stressful that was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer a haircut free agent.
Look at
Not
you.
because I found somebody new.
I was about to say, what?
Because I got my old girl back.
Oh, nice.
She's back in the game. She's back in the haircut game, back in the barber game. And I'm pumped about that. And she came by the house yesterday, gave me a fresh cut and a beard trim. So I'm, the peak wedding season has calmed. So she's got more time on her schedule right now. So I'm pumped about that because I had 3 cuts over the summer. She immediately said, here's 2 things that they did wrong. Let me fix this for you.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, really? She's like, yeah. She's like, they were trying to make you look older than you actually look.
That's crazy.
They cut my hair to make it look like my hair was going the wrong direction. She's like, it's not.
How rude.
You just had right? I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So that's my good news.
Congratulations.
Very relieved.
Yeah, I bet. My good news is that the lady next door apparently is being asked to leave. So, hey, I don't know. Maybe it's because we went public with it. Maybe I'll believe it when I say I've not seen any boxes. I've actually not even seen her since this came to light. So I have no idea what's going on. I'm also a little bit paranoid that she's gonna confront me like a crazy lady about it, which would be understandable, and I'll just have to kind of shut that down. Because I did not demand she be evicted. I demanded she stop what she's doing. There's a big difference. So yeah, apparently by the end of the month, she'll be asked to leave. Again, we'll believe it when we see it. Boxes start coming out of that place. But yeah, it's a weird feeling. Like there are
Jeff's taking credit for
it. Fair enough. There are only 2 times in my life that I felt like this, where it's like, I don't love to see anybody put in a bad spot, even if I'm furious at you. But it is what it is. In high school, I got a Spanish 1 teacher fired. And that's because here's the very brief version of that story. This lady was new. She had,
we went to the same high school, but like a decade apart.
Yeah,
so I was like, I loved my Spanish 1 teacher. What'd you do to Miss Moix?
No. This is somebody that was a one and done at Brentwood High School.
Good. I was about to get
and I did not mean to get her fired, but we were taking Spanish 1, and within the first 2 weeks of the class, it was very obvious to everybody, not just to me, that this lady, she knew how to speak Spanish, but she did not know how to teach it. We weren't learning anything, and we were all like, we're required to take Spanish 2. We can't be one and done with Spanish. We're going to go into Spanish 2 and all fail because she's not teaching us anything. And we kind of talked about it as a class, and so we were all in a group chat, like, what do we do? We like group chats for classes and stuff, and a number of kids didn't care because they're like, it's great, we don't have to do anything. But those of us that were like had some foresight, we were like, this is going to screw us. We're not going to get into college because we failed Spanish 2. And so me and another person from the class told a principal about it, like, hey, we feel like we're not learning anything in this class. And they were like, okay, well, I'll come shadow this new person for a day to come like just see what it's like. And they sat in on the class. And afterwards, they were like, this is a problem. They were like, we're going to have to do something about this.
You got Kevin Kydell who comes shadow?
No, he's a vice principal. No, that'd be crazy. Not Big Kev. And then I never saw that lady again. They were like,
wow.
They were like, here's your interim.
Immediately?
I mean, I think it was like on a Friday, and then Monday morning we had a substitute. And they were like, for the time being, this is going to be your teacher in Spanish 1. And I was like,
Mike McCoy walked in that door and you said, oh, I know what happened.
And genuinely, I was like, I didn't be like, fire this lady. I was like, can you help her understand that we're not learning anything? But no, they just decided it was time to move on. So
you did not ask for your neighbor to be evicted. You said, I need her to stop smoking 3 different substances because it's killing the inside of my house, and my 1-year-old daughter and wife can't deal with it anymore. That's what you said. Stop smoking these 3 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, okay, she's out by the end of the month.
Yep, that's what happened. So it's kind of the same story.
Here's my hope for this, just for my own entertainment. I hope the last box that she carries out of her house, that she puts in that big extra long truck that's taking up the sidewalk space, she puts it on, she closes the tailgate, poof, turns over her shoulder, and says to you, good luck with the spirits, and then drives off.
Good luck with your haunted house.
Yes, I just put this hex on you.
Oh,
you
no.
Son of a
No. I don't need her to be a witch and hex us. That's not what we need.
But when you asked her, what are you burning? Oh, it's sage. It's for the spirits. I'm cleansing the spirits. I
don't know, man. Weird stuff.
But I can't wait.
We're trending up, I think. I don't know.
I can't wait to see how the last 12 days play.
Hopefully it actually happens and it doesn't turn into a big deal, and it just is, she goes away. That's what I would like to have to happen. So
I hope you don't get cursed. I do not wish that on your wife and daughter.
No.
All right. That is it for us. Easton, I will see you on Sunday.
See you there.
At Margaritaville, 2nd floor, Landshark Bar and Grill. Shout out Traveler Whiskey. Shout out Miller Lite. They got specials every day. There is a football game on the TV. Traveler Whiskey, Miller Lite specials. Again, Landshark Bar and Grill, 2nd floor of Margaritaville, 4th and Broadway. Park in the 333 Commerce parking garage directly behind it. That's the easiest way to do it, and that's where we're going to park. And we'll see you guys there on Sunday for pregame, halftime, postgame for Titans Colts. Enjoy the weekend. See you later. Thanks.